Welcome back to the Titanium Hanger. This is Mike. Lately, I've been hearing a lot of talk about scalping. Pretty much anytime I watch a video about collecting, there's a mention of scalping. And anytime there's a live stream, scalping almost always takes over the discussion. So today I'm going to talk about scalping versus reselling going into 2023. I also really want to discuss how collectors need to evolve with the modern landscape of collecting. Scalping's making national news, and there's a few things I want to say about not Taylor Swift so much, but companies and how they can eliminate scalping through two ways. And the truth is, one's good and one's bad, and they're doing both. And is it working? And I'm going to share a few of my stories involving some scalping situations and issues. That and more coming up. First off, real quickly, I want to start with the definition of scalping, and I'm going to skip over the historical one and go to the informal. So this is not even a true defined word. It is sort of an informal slang term to resell tickets or shares or toys at a large or quick profit. Tickets were scalped for 40 times their face value. So when you think about scalping, in the early days, most people thought about scalping as scalping tickets to an event, which there's only so many seats. And when it comes to collectibles, there's only so many produced, right? I want to get this point out of the way. The whole scalping thing going on with the Taylor Swift situation, I don't know a whole lot about it. I read one quick article, and they basically said that the ticket prices were too low, that people could buy multiples to resell them at higher prices, and that was the problem. So that's what they're saying the problem was. I've seen it on the news here and there. I really can't believe directly what national news says, so I have to go to some sort of article to try to get the nitty-gritty on what's going on here. Was it bots? Maybe. I was first introduced to the concept of scalping back in 1997 when I was trying to complete the first 12 of the Power of the Force 2 line, which now are pretty much worthless. Let's just admit it. But back then it was fun, it was exciting to look for it, but I couldn't find this anywhere. After a couple of months I looked online, and this $4.50 figure at Walmart was $15 on eBay, and it got me to stop and think about this. This thing just came out. I could still possibly find it at a Walmart. Why would I pay $15 on eBay? And that's when I first learned about scalping. Fast forward to a couple decades later, I was sort of dipping my toe in the Amber collection of Jurassic Park. I see the Dennis Nedry figure on the shelf. I decide to wait for a sale. I just don't think it's that great of a figure. Figured he'd go on sale or clearance and I'd be able to pick him up then. And one day he was all gone. And that same day I noticed that they were $100 on eBay. Yes, $100 for Dennis Nedry. For Newman from Seinfeld. Shocked me. I ended up buying one from a scalper myself down the road for like $50, and I was thanking him for only charging me $50 for a $20 figure. The other situation is this whole Koldar figure, and Koldar was a Mattel Creations exclusive. I didn't know who he was. I was going to buy 3, and I had 3 in my cart. My son said he wanted one, so I added another one for him, and before I could check out, he was gone. So this figure here is one that is skyrocketing to like $80 in value now. You can't get one even from a scalper. But 6 months later, are you still considered a scalper? I mean, this thing has been out for 6 months. I don't really think you can call them scalpers anymore. These are people selling their collection. So let's get to the root problem of collectors and scalping and scalpers. So one of the biggest problems I see with collectors is that if it doesn't show up their local Walmart or their local Target or where they like to shop, and it's not on the shelf at the time that they decide to stop by, then they're going to live without it for the rest of their life. And this mentality still confuses me today. That even after 2020, 2021, where 90% of stuff seemed to shift to online for a while, people are still scared to shop online or to order online and those kinds of things. So that's one of the ways we need to evolve as collectors. You're not going to get everything at the toy aisle. If you're collecting a mainline item, you probably still will not see it at your local Walmart or your Target. If they do get any, they probably get one case, and that's one collector getting one of each figure, sells it out. So if you have that mindset, then you're just not going to be able to collect anymore, because about 30% of what's produced shows up at my Walmart and my Target. The other 70 I have to get online. So, yes, about 70% of my collection I do pre-order at BBTS. Now, I like to collect multiples myself, but I've gotten down to where I only buy one from BBTS, and then I hope to find a second or a third at retail. If I do, I do. If I don't, I don't. I've got my one for me. It's fine. So, with that, but I do like to open one, so, there comes that problem. Anyhow, BBTS, I like their pile of loot system and all that kind of stuff, but any online that you are comfortable with, if you're comfortable with Dorkside Toys, I mean, that's on you. So next I want to differentiate resellers from scalpers. And I want to say Dallas Vintage Toys in Dallas and Toy Base 10 in Oklahoma City. Those are two fantastic toy shops that do modern and vintage. So they buy vintage collections and resell them. They buy modern stuff through distributors. So they get in orders from distributors of modern product to sell. And here's the thing, they do sell it at a higher price. Usually about $3 to $5 more than you can get it at Walmart or Target. And so with that, does that make them a scalper? I don't think so. I think that's because of the fact that they have to pay more for the product. They have to charge a little bit more to make a profit and to stay in business. I mean, nobody stays in business selling stuff for what they paid or less, so they got to make a little bit of a profit. But I think these are both very good, reputable businesses to visit. That doesn't mean that all resellers are good for the community. Like those two I just mentioned are great for the community, make product available to people. That's fantastic. But you get into a few negatives. One of the negatives about it is when you take an item, not this Darth Vader though, but you take a vintage Star Wars figure, and maybe it's worth $100. Maybe there's quite a few that are worth $100. You AFA grade it, spend $70 probably to AFA grade it, and now charge $300. So once you get into that, I'm not into AFA grading. I'm completely anti-AFA grading anything. So I've never done it. I never will. But when I see this kind of stuff that goes on, I don't want to spend $300. You basically alienate 67% of collectors when you AFA grade something. So with that, I mean, resellers that choose to grade things, that kind of takes it out of the possible realm of collectors, about 67% of them, and it's no longer affordable to them. One good thing about resellers is that they make things available that aren't, maybe they're not available even on eBay, but everybody on eBay is either a reseller or a scalper, and every scalper is a reseller. So for that point, resellers make things available. I can tell you right now, there's no place in my town or maybe even in my state that I can go get one of these bad boys. I've got to go to some sort of reseller somewhere, usually eBay. And even on eBay, it's hard to find one of these. So yes, I am thankful there are people out there willing to resell in this current climate where eBay's charging you a minimum of 14% up to 20%, and our government's after you with a 1099-K. So they've changed the rules of the game midway through. So now I want to get into what companies like Hasbro and Mattel, corporations, what they can do to end scalping or reduce scalping. And they have actually done this, not for the reason of help the consumer, not for the reason to help out the collector. No. They've done this for their own reasons. Number one thing you can do is raise your prices. Since they've raised the prices of their figures, they have slowed the scalping down a tad bit. People that used to buy 10 of them are now buying 6 or 5 or 4, who knows? Or just the one for themselves, and like it's not in, the profit margin's not there anymore. So let's talk about the profit margin real quick. If you buy a figure for $25 and then you sell it for $40 and then you pay the fees after fees and shipping, you might make $2 or $3. It just doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't make sense to scalp something like this Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man. Now this probably is exclusive. I don't know a whole lot about Marvel, but it doesn't make sense to scalp something like this unless you double your money. So after you've doubled your money, you might have made $10. So if you sell a $25 item for $50, after the fees and shipping and all that, you might walk away with a $10 profit. And then you still have to settle up with the IRS. Now, although this Cobra Con at Mattel Creations is sold out, well, 30 minutes. 30 minutes in modern day collecting time is an eternity, but it wasn't offered for 2 full straight days that anybody could order it, which they should have, but they didn't. So with that, this thing's going to be quote-unquote scalped, but at the price of 30, how many people really wanted to buy several? In fact, you could have bought all you want. The limit was 2, but you could open 4 accounts and 4 different emails and spent, what, $300 buying 10 of them. But I don't think that many people did it because they outpriced the scalpers. And I think that's what they did with this, although I don't really think it's even worth the 30. The scalpers know that for sure. But yet there were still people asking $85 before it went up for sale on eBay, which blows my mind. I don't understand. Never ever pre-order something like this from eBay. Now we got to get into talking about the crowdfunding. When it comes to HasLab or Mattel Creations, where it's one of the crowdfunding events, it's impossible to scalp that. Everybody is a reseller of this for the vintage price is basically what you're doing. Because when this came out, when the Sell Barge came out, I was one of the advocates for this. And I said, buy it now for $500 or pay $2,000 when it's released. I said it over and over. I actually made a full-size picture of the prototype. I did size comparison videos. I expressed that, hey, if we don't support this or back this, then it won't get made. And I guarantee you it will get made. And then when it's out and it's $2,000, you're going to feel crunchy you didn't buy it for the cheap, low price of $500. Now, we're not here to debate all of that. We're not here to discuss or say, hey, that's a good price for it. $500 was very expensive for what it was if it was a retail release. But we're never going to see that at retail. We're never going to see that, and we're never going to see this Eternia at retail. See, we're not going to see Eternia at retail. We're not going to see hardly any vehicles. That Razor Crest could have been a retail, but we're not going to see it anymore just because the numbers don't work, the retailers don't want it, and this is not what this video is about. So let's talk about scalping this guy. So I did buy 3 of these. I do plan to have one to open, one to keep sealed, and then I probably will trade or sell off my 3rd one. But I'm not doing it the day I get it. I'm sitting on that bad boy. I'm going to enjoy it, and that's what resellers do. So I'm more and more, I'm becoming a vintage collector more than a modern collector, and I just like to enjoy having my stuff more than getting rid of it. But just like with the Sell Barge, I told people that either pay, well, $650 now or $2,000 later, and there's more of a discussion behind that too, because a lot of people just couldn't afford it. They couldn't cough up $650 at the time. I understand that, but you're going to have to cough up $1,500, $2,000 in 2024. Hopefully it's easier then, and maybe due to inflation. The last way that companies can actually end scalping is what McFarlane's done. So when you just put out enough product that anybody that wants your product can buy it, like with these superpowers or pretty much anything he makes it pretty readily available, pretty easy to get. There's no scalping of this. I mean, maybe people try to scalp this in the early days, but there's no one scalping this. Nobody's paying $20 a figure, double the price to make it worth your time, right? So if you can walk into any Walmart or most Walmarts or a Walmart that's a short drive, that you can get the entire toy line. Right now, I could walk into one of many Walmarts, get the entire toy line. Nobody's scalping this. And there's no reason to pay a scalper if you can readily find it at retail and in better condition than if Walmart shipped it to you. So what's going to change in 2023 with these companies, with collecting, and what are we going to have to do a little bit different going forward into 2023 so that we can evolve and not have to be paying the scalpers or the late tax? Like I said, we're going to have to do some online pre-ordering and buying. It's not just BBTS though. It's not just I'm going to buy stuff I could possibly get at Walmart and I'm going to pre-order BBTS, Entertainment Earth, any of those places that you pre-order. It's more than just that. Now we are forced to go to one outlet to get the CamoCon, to get the Coldars, to get the exclusives. Well, the exclusives are becoming almost every other figure is the way it feels, but it's not there yet. In 2023 and 2024, I believe at the end of these toy lines, at the end of Masters of the Universe, most of the product's going to be through Mattel Creations. I think that in the future, most of these figures that don't ever hit the store shelves, you're going to have to get it through Hasbro Pulse, You're going to have to get through Mattel Creations. You're going to have to order it through the retailers like Target and Walmart directly because they have them as exclusives. And there's going to be less and less and less that's considered mainline retail. But we're all going to have to shed the idea that we're going to find everything on our toy aisle, because that hasn't been the case for almost 3 years, and it's actually going to get worse and harder going forward, especially in 2023 and 2024. So I want to know what you guys think about this. I mean, obviously, everybody has an opinion about scalping. Everybody has an opinion about pricing, availability. Do you see companies outpricing scalpers? And at the same time, do you see companies outpricing collectors? I mean, if you're a Star Wars Black Series collector, you're pretty much outpriced. Like, you're just not going to buy this for $25. But let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Hydravinger out.